From This Corner with John Ball is brought to you by KNEO 91.7 The Word.
Welcome to From This Corner. I'm John Ball, and From This Corner talks about really neat stuff. And we've had a ministry in Neosho for 5 years now that is a ministry that just kind of welcomes people to come in, sit down, eat a meal, talk and visit about all kinds of different things. We got Desiree Bridges, the director of Hope Kitchens here. Desiree, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
It's unbelievable that November the 3rd marks the 5th year of Hope Kitchens. And man, we've been down for a while, kind of like everybody else with this yucky COVID thing going on. So actually, we've been down as far as the dining room is concerned since sometime in April. Yeah. So opening back up is pretty exciting, isn't it?
We are very excited. In fact, you're right. It is kind of crazy to think that 5 years ago we started with this dream to feed people. It is amazing to think that we've been open for 5 years. It's been a really strange year, I think, for most people. I think we're all on the same page and we have that in common. But yeah, we've been closed since almost the beginning of the year. The dining room has been closed. We haven't been able to serve people the way that we like to. So we're really excited to open the dining room back up in November.
And here's the really neat part about that. Yeah, the food is available. Yeah, there's opportunities to come in and serve, bus tables and things like that, but it's basically done by volunteers, isn't it?
It is 100% done by volunteers, and I always tell people we have the best volunteers on earth. In fact, our team that is serving our first meal when we reopen the dining room is coming all the way from Bentonville, Arkansas. So we're really excited that our volunteers are excited to reopen the dining room. They're pumped up, they're ready to go, they've got their ducks in a row, and we're really excited to serve people the way that we really want to serve them at Hope Kitchen.
Now, this bunch of volunteers from Bentonville is actually going to come back and they're going to serve Thanksgiving Day, right?
Yeah, it's so funny when she told me that she wanted to serve twice, that she and her team wanted to serve twice this month. I said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yes, we want to serve on Thanksgiving also." So they'll be our Thanksgiving host team, and we're very excited about that.
Well, I tell you what, when I've had an opportunity to come down, and I don't really serve, I bus tables. I kind of get things cleaned up. But man, I see people I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, it's, there's kind of a shift in thinking that I'm trying to get people to understand is we're not just serving homeless people. A lot of people, that's their knee-jerk reaction is, oh, you're just serving homeless people. Well, we're not just serving homeless people. While there is a homeless population in Neosho and there is a homeless shelter in Neosho, we're serving the lonely elderly who just desire time with other people. If they were home alone, they wouldn't prepare their own meal. They wouldn't sit down and eat. Sometimes it's a reminder of their loneliness when they have to prepare a meal for themselves. So we serve the lonely elderly. We have grandparents who are raising their grandchildren, and this is quite a blessing for them to get to come in and get a meal 3 times a week. That saves them quite a bit of money. When I say lonely elderly, I think maybe people think of women first, but there are a lot of lonely elderly men that come in as well. And then sometimes you have misplaced young people, 19, 20, 21. They're kind of wandering, right? They're struggling. They maybe haven't made all of the right choices or had the best example at home. So they're not homeless, but they're maybe living in a poverty kind of way. So we're really seeing all kinds of walks of life that come through the door to eat.
Well, now, biblically, we have a responsibility to take care of orphans. We have a responsibility to take care of widows. That means widowers as well.
That's right.
But the real joy is going and just being able to talk to people that you haven't talked to in a long time.
Yeah.
Absolutely, churches are a very important part because churches, my church in particular, takes a Thursday a month, and there are other churches that takes a Thursday a month. But you don't have to be a member of a church. You can be a member of a civic group. Neosho FFA is going to help. Rotary Club has been to help. Kiwanis have come to help. Just anytime, get your name on and you'll receive a blessing.
That's right. I can't say anymore how much churches really are the backbone of our volunteer base. But like what you said, that's a great list of groups that have served. We've had the basketball team from Crowder College has served. Lazy Boy has served multiple times. Opal Foods, different, businesses and civic organizations as well as churches. We really have room for all kinds of volunteers to serve. And really the goal goal here is to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And when we are kind, that's what draws people to him. You know, the Bible tells us that it's his kindness that leads us to repentance. So when we're kind to others, when the love of Jesus flows out of us by putting a plate of food in front of someone or by sitting and talking to someone who's maybe having a rough day, we're hoping that we are Jesus to the least of these. And then that's what will draw them to salvation ultimately, right?
Yes, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about the history of Hope Kitchens. Where in the world did this idea come from?
Well, it's kind of a crazy story because if people don't know, Hope Kitchen actually is birthed out of the Canopy Church. So the Canopy Church oversees the facilitating of Hope Kitchen. But my pastor was approached way more than 5 years ago by someone on the square who just had said, did you know there's really no place for anyone to get a hot meal here in town, a consistent hot meal? And so that kind of birthed in our hearts of, how do we meet that need? And then the Lord really laid on our hearts to open a soup kitchen, and we were really kind of confused. How do you open a soup kitchen? That's kind of an interesting situation to be tasked with, and the rest really is history. God's provided financially, physically, with the people and the building, and spiritually we've had some great people propping us up with prayer, and then our wonderful Christian servants that serve in the building. So it's been a long road to get to where we are, but it's hard to believe we've been open for 5 years now.
And let me say, I don't want anybody to think that we quit serving in April. We didn't. We actually served meals that were put in a basket out the back door so people could take it and go wherever they wanted to and still be able to social distance and still be able to feel comfortable.
Right. That's actually a really good point. I'm really glad you made that, because even though we closed the dining room, we didn't want to stop serving at such a critical time in our country when people probably needed it more than they've ever needed it before. Because as you know, there were certain things hard to find at grocery stores. We had certain restrictions as far as what times you could be out. Remember, Walmart was only open till this time, and it was just kind of crazy. So when we sat and evaluated how we wanted to manage Hope Kitchen through the COVID situation, we said we don't want to close our dining room entirely and not feed anyone at all. So what we did was our volunteers would still come in, of course with a smaller number, because we were trying to honor what our government was telling us to do as far as social distancing. We were saying groups of 10 or less coming in to the kitchen to cook and prepare food. And then we just started serving everything out the front door in styrofoam to-go boxes. And so that's what we've done literally for months, is just served right at the door. The dining room has not been open. We've just served them right out front. And that's been hard for us, because how do you connect with people and really minister to the hurting when you just hand them a box and they leave?
Well, absolutely. You are 100% correct. But being able to hand people a box lets them know we still care.
That's exactly right.
So you're excited about getting the dining room open.
Yeah.
What's the capacity of the dining room?
So the capacity of the dining room is about 68, give or take. And so we have actually added a welcome center now at the front of Hope Kitchen. So we lost one table. So we have 16 tables, which we had 17, so it's not really a big deal. But we're just going to open our doors and see how it goes. We're not sure if people will be a little apprehensive or whatnot, but I know that there are restaurants in town that are operating at full capacity, and so we are also going to do the same. So we can have about 64 seated at one time when we open at 6.
I can tell you from my own personal experience that there's not just 64, 65 people. We feed as many as 150, 160 folks a night.
You're right. So that first wave of people will come in at 6, and depending on how well the volunteer team is functioning, we usually turn those people over in about 20 minutes. So from 6 to 6:20, that first group of 64 will eat, and they gradually go as they've finished, and then another group, there's always people waiting, and then that next group comes in. So you're right. By the time we close at 7:30, we've easily served 150 to 170 plates of food.
Well, the building actually was a restaurant at one time, so it came equipped with a kitchen, right?
Right. It was equipped. It had booths and where you could come in and seat people at a booth, and it did have commercial equipment. We did fully renovate the facility, though. Right before we opened, we totally gutted the place. We did use some of the equipment that was there. We had so many generous people come and help us, clean the place out and put new sheetrock, and there's a certain way you power wash kitchen equipment with heat and everything. And so we had so much great help getting everything ready. But we do have a USDA inspected commercial grade kitchen. We're very proud of that. We're able to serve in the right way, following guidelines set by the government.
Well, I tell you what, because it is particularly this time of year when people are kind of, the holidays, it's kind of bittersweet. You kind of think about things from the past. You can be lonely. What a great, great time for Hope Kitchens to open their doors again. And people come in, get a cup of coffee, get a cup of iced tea, maybe even some lemonade.
Yeah, sometimes.
And sit down with some other folks and just kind of visit about what's going on in life. Desiree, thank you so much for being here. Let's give us the address and a phone number that we can call if somebody were out here and said, "Man, I want to help one night."
Right.
What do they do?
Okay, so our website is www.hopekitchenneosho.com. My phone number is 417-658-9208, and that's the main Hope Kitchen line, so it rings straight to my phone. If someone wants to serve or be a part, they can call that number. And we're located just off of the southeast corner of the Neosho Square, so it's 219 East Main Street. We're almost right next door to Neosho City Hall, so we're just right there off the beaten path.
Okay, Desiree, thanks so much for being here, and good luck. I'm sure there are a lot of people that very much get an opportunity to be nourished because of your efforts. And not only do they get nourished, they feel the love of God. Thank you so much.
Yes,
for being
thank
here.
you for your time today.